Welcome back to Into Sports. I'm your host, Evan. I'm going to go through my full NFL predictions for the season and give you my Super Bowl pick at the end. Let's get right into it with the NFC North. I have the Packers winning the division once again at 12-5. They don't have the weapons on the perimeter that they need to really make a run in the postseason, in my opinion. But it's still Aaron Rodgers with a good defense, so I have them winning the division, with the Vikings coming in second and also making the playoffs. With the new head coach, Kevin O'Connell, he was Sean McVay's offensive coordinator last year, and I think he's going to be a big reason why Kirk Cousins has a great year. In the NFC East, I got the Eagles winning the division with an upgraded roster at 10-7. They've added multiple quality pieces on defense in the draft and free agency with trades, and they traded for A.J. Brown, the wide receiver, on draft night. The only question I have for this team is, can Jalen Hurts become more comfortable playing within the structure of the offense, playing with timing and rhythm? That's the only question I have for Philadelphia, but I do have them winning the division. Dallas also makes the playoffs. Although they regress a little bit from last year, they're not going to force as many turnovers, and they traded away Amari Cooper for a 5th round pick. Don't love that. In the NFC South, the Bucs are loaded once again. They're the lone playoff team from this division. Although you actually have to question Tom Brady's commitment for the first time in his entire career. He retired, then he unretired, then he missed 2 weeks of training camp for an undisclosed reason. Plus, the Bucs have already suffered a few injuries on the offensive line, and we know Tom Brady needs a clean pocket to operate. Although, they're still going to be good enough for a division win and a nice record at 11-6. The Saints barely miss out on the playoffs. They traded away a ridiculous amount for the opportunity to draft Chris Olave, receiver out of Ohio State. But then they trade away Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for peanuts. So I don't fully understand the plan here in New Orleans. And without Sean Payton, I don't trust Jameis Winston nearly as much. And I think Baker has a bounce back year in Carolina, but it's not enough for a playoff spot, 7-10 for Carolina. NFC West, I think the 49ers barely edge out the Rams for this division title because Trey Lance is an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy G is still with the 49ers because there was no market for Jimmy G. Nobody wanted him to be their quarterback, so he's still on the 49ers as a backup. And sure, Trey Lance, first full season, he's going to make some mistakes. I get that. But dang, did you watch Jimmy Garoppolo the last couple of years? If it's not a 6-yard pass over the middle, the ball's probably going to be in harm's way. So yes, they might go to a mistake-prone quarterback, but they've had a mistake-prone quarterback in Jimmy G, even though he's a veteran. So I think Trey Lance makes San Francisco a lot more dangerous, and it's an absolutely loaded roster on both sides of the ball with a great coach, Kyle Shanahan. And then, of course, the Rams also make the playoffs. They were my Super Bowl pick last year, and they proved me right. And I think they're going to be right back in the mix this year. Switching to the AFC, the Ravens in the North, I think they get back to the playoffs. They win the division at 11-6. They had so many injuries last year, particularly on the defensive side. I think they're going to get back to running the ball and dominating defensively. Although for postseason success, I do not love the fact that they traded away their best receiver, Marquise Brown, for a center, because in the postseason, you've got to be able to attack through the air. But I think they'll have massive success in the regular season, steamrolling teams and suffocating defensively. And I got the Bengals right there as well. They were a weak Super Bowl team last year. I think that's fair to say, but a Super Bowl team nonetheless. Plus, they upgraded the offensive line in the offseason, so Joe Burrow won't be running for his life on every play. Now in the AFC East, I've got the Bills winning the division 12-5. We know how good Josh Allen is. I don't have to sell you on the Bills, but they did just add Von Miller in free agency, who was a key part of the Rams' Super Bowl run last year. I got the Miami Dolphins at 10-7, but for the third straight year, barely missing out on the playoffs. I didn't like the Brian Flores firing, but they brought in Mike McDaniel, who I actually like a lot, and he's going to make Tua look good. I still don't think Tua is the answer, but McDaniel is going to scheme up so many easy completions, just like he did with Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. Plus, they had the best receiver in football, Tyreek Hill, who is always the most dangerous man on the field, no matter where he lines up. Then I have New England taking a step back at 8-9. They made the playoffs last year in Mac Jones' rookie season, but they have the most expensive receiver and tight end payroll. Yet they are the least explosive team on the perimeter in the entire league. In the AFC South, the Colts take it here at 11-6. Only one playoff team in the AFC South. Matt Ryan, who they traded for from the Falcons, is certainly an upgrade over Carson Wentz. I think they're going to continue to dominate on the ground, and they play in the worst division in football. And I say that because the Titans are going to take a step back. They trade away A.J. Brown, who had defenses quaking in their boots at all times. And now they don't have that explosive receiver that can make the big plays they rely on in the play-action passing game. Plus, their offensive line is one of the worst in the league, so it's going to be a lot harder to get Derrick Henry going on the ground. The Titans take a massive step back. Now the AFC West, the best division in football, with a new team on top, the Denver Broncos. All because of Russell Wilson. Let me read you this. Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, Brock Osweiler, Case Keenum, Joe Flacco, Brandon Allen, Drew Lock, Jeff Driscoll, Brett Rippon, Kendall Hinton, Teddy Bridgewater. Those are the quarterbacks who have started for the Broncos since they won the Super Bowl in 2016 with Peyton Manning. Those guys. But now they have finally found their solution with Russell Wilson. And of course, the Chiefs will be up there as well. I have them at 11-6. They trade away Tyreek Hill, certainly a big loss. But Mahomes, a good offensive line, and Andy Reid, they're going to figure it out. I also have the Chargers right there at 11-6. Justin Herbert, he's a top 5 quarterback. And they had a big offseason, adding Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson, 2 elite players on defense. They're just going to be so much better on that side of the ball. Finally, give Herbert a chance to make the playoffs. And finally, the most overhyped team in the NFL, the Raiders. A lot of people actually have them winning the AFC West, but they have no chance with the Broncos, the Chiefs, and the Chargers in their way. I know they made the playoffs last year, but they had a negative 65-point differential in the regular season. That means their 10-7 record was a little fluky. And of course, the division is so much better this year. The Raiders have a terrible offensive line, a below-average defense. They're not a bad team, but they're certainly not in the class of the other 3 AFC West teams. And now, you see my AFC playoff picture right here. The Bills getting the bye at 12-5. And then you have 3 great wildcard teams. Chiefs, Chargers, Bengals. The AFC is absolutely stacked. They're clearly the better conference over the NFC this season. And now my NFC playoff picture, the lesser conference, but I've got the Packers getting the bye. The Rams are in as the 5 seed. They're a great wild card team. Only in the wild card because the 49ers win that division, in my opinion. And then you have the Cowboys and Vikings that barely squeak in with the last 2 playoff spots. They're definitely not as good as the Chargers and Bengals as the 6 and 7 seeds in the AFC. Then my final 4 teams are the Bills and the Broncos in the AFC, and 2 NFC West teams representing the NFC with the 49ers and the Rams. And my Super Bowl prediction, I have the Broncos and the 49ers, 2 teams with new quarterbacks. And personally, I'm getting deja vu because 2019, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go 7-9 with a below average quarterback, Jameis Winston, despite a talented roster. Then they add Tom Brady in the offseason and they win the Super Bowl. In 2020, the Rams go 10-6 and lose early in the playoffs with a bottom tier quarterback in Jared Goff. Then they trade for Matt Stafford in the offseason and win the Super Bowl. Well, last year, the Broncos went 7-10 with a backup quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. Now, they trade for Russell Wilson. And I think, like the Bucs, like the Rams, they cash in with the Super Bowl. They've had a great roster the last couple of years, just not the quarterback. But they go out and make the move of the offseason, trading for Russell Wilson. And because of that, the Broncos will be your 2023 Super Bowl champs.